Servus, Männer, it's Red Pill Germany again. What you can see on this picture now on your screen is not a tank. I repeat, this is not a tank, at least according to our dear and very competent Minister for Defense, Frau Lambrecht. So yesterday in the Bundestag, she explained that in front of everybody and the press, and I think it was even streamed live to the internet. So with no shame at all and without admitting that she's not an expert on this or that it might be not true or something. No, she explained to everyone that this here, the Gepard Flakpanzer, in English, Cheetah anti-aircraft tank, is in fact not a tank at all. No. She said, of course, it's very heavy and it has this pipe, but it's not a tank. So I really have to tell you what she said in a more or less one-to-one translation from German. She said, the Cheetah is not a tank. The Cheetah's purpose is, for example, also to protect critical infrastructure by shooting into the air with this pipe. And up there, it can reach objects. That is something that a tank just can't do. End of quotation. So first, I of course want to pick apart this statement a little bit and clarify some facts and details. Not that they're so important, just to set the record straight. And then I want to tell you why, in my opinion, people like these are put into positions such as Defense Minister of Germany. Okay, let's start with the easy part, with the facts. A tank comes in many shapes and sizes, and there are tanks for different purposes. There are main battle tanks, there are even tanks that can establish bridges. Pioneer battalions use these, for example. Then there are tanks that are used for clearing mines, there are transport tanks, and of course there are anti-aircraft tanks. But what makes a tank? In the German language, it becomes a little more clear. It is called Panzer, and that means armor. So a tank is basically an armored vehicle that protects the people that are inside by an armored hull. And you don't even have to dig up a definition in some military textbook or something, because in the case of the Gepard, as I said in the beginning, it is already in the name. It is an anti-aircraft tank, and in German it's a Flakpanzer. So it's pretty much in the name. Of course it's a tank, and by the way, it also can be used against targets on ground. It is not just an anti-aircraft tank. You can also fire these. Well, what are they? They're not pipes, Rohr in German, and to her defense, yes, the word Rohr is sometimes used in this context, instead of cannon, for example, but what you have here is an Oerlikon twin autocannon. Oerlikon is now part of Rheinmetall, but this is not a pipe. It is a 35mm twin autocannon, and it doesn't just shoot into the air. No, it can hit targets very accurately, and it can destroy them. It is definitely a dangerous weapon, and it is definitely a tank. Alright, so that settles the more unimportant question, what this thing is. The humorous and entertaining aspect of this ridiculous answer to the question that was posed to Frau Lambrecht in our parliament aside, I think it is much more important to think about why the ministers, why these leaders in our country are so absolutely incompetent and ignorant about their very own resorts, and why nobody really seems to care about that. A couple of years ago, something like that would have been a huge scandal, and it would not have been used just for some jokes and some laughs here and there for one day or two. It would have been seen as a huge scandal by the German public, and it would have led to immense pressure on that minister, and then in the end they probably would have had to step down from office. But nowadays this doesn't matter anymore. And of course I have my own private hypothesis as to why that is. See, Germany is a country with a huge military budget, believe it or not, but without a functioning army. Yes, our military budget is on the order of Russia's military budget. Can you believe that? But this money is used so inefficiently, and it is basically used in order to fund a waterhead, a administrative circus with a lot of cushy jobs in many government offices and parts of our administration situation where politicians can fill these jobs with people that they owe a favor. And that is the whole point. And the other part of the money is vanishing, of course, as we can see right now, abroad. Yes, the function of Germany now is a country of worker drones that are taxed to the max, and this money is directly redirected to out-of-country sources. It is wired directly abroad. That is the whole purpose of Germany. And who could better fulfill this job and fulfill this purpose than women in these positions of power at these ministries with an enormous budget? That is, of course, never used to fulfill the initial or original purpose of the ministry or of that side of our state, of our society. In this example, defense? No, this money is not used for that. It is used for other things. It is used, like in the example here, to give presents to billionaires in, well, not too friendly countries. And only a teeny tiny fraction of that defense budget, which is, once again, enormous. Look it up. German defense budget, it is not a small number. And only a fraction of that is used in order to make Germany capable to defend itself. National security and defense is not a priority, despite of everything that our politicians say these days. So that is the more direct function. There is, of course, a more nebulous, a more fuzzy function that is maybe even more important than getting tax money out of Germany in the smoothest, fastest way possible. And this other function is to humiliate Germany and to demoralize Germany. As you might know, Germany has a long and proud martial tradition. Germans were always proud of being able to defend their country and of also passing on to the next generation the ability and the knowledge and the skills to defend our country. We used to say that the German military is the school of the nation, and of course we practiced the draft still, especially during the Cold War time. This was important again. But nowadays, people don't want that. People don't want our young men to be educated and trained in this way. They want them to be fat, slow, degenerate, and demoralized. And that is why Frau Lambrecht is now the third woman Minister of Defense in a row. Before that, it was Ursula von der Leyen, also known as Flinten-Uschi. Then there was AKK, and now we have her. All three of them left a disastrous legacy. They destroyed our military from the inside. In many cases, they purged the German Bundeswehr from very capable people and also traditions that created a sense of history, of belonging to the nation and knowing what you're fighting for, knowing what you are protecting, in fact. All these things have been forbidden, cancelled, and discarded. And these old songs are no longer allowed to be sung. These old paintings were destroyed or they were put away. And Germany is now left in a state where we have, yes, a huge military budget, but not the ability to defend anybody, especially not ourselves. All this is, of course, happening at the behest of our dear allies, and this is why I find it so funny and fascinating that they demand that we take this leadership role in military or defense affairs, in NATO, for example, but at the same time, they were from the very beginning of the Federal Republic of Germany, they were making sure that we never have the tools and we never have the ability to defend ourselves. Because we lack the material, we lack the right mindset, and we lack the spirit for even defending our country. So maybe I took this analysis a little far, but this is what I see and hear when a caricature of a defense minister like Frau Lambrecht steps into the microphone and explains to us that the Gepard is in fact not a tank because it has this pipe and it aims this in the air in front of critical infrastructure, and a tank just can't do that. Enjoy the rest of your day. Servus, Kameraden.